And finally on MiWeek, there is no shortage of vacant lots in the city of Detroit, but some of them are being repurposed, and they are now part of a new green infrastructure. They're bioretention gardens that look beautiful, but in rainstorms serve a very different purpose. Here's Great Lakes Now editor Mary Ellen Geist.
Across the country, cities are tasked with managing rainwater that falls on impenetrable surfaces, a problem that's getting worse due to the effects of climate change. The Clean Water Act mandates that municipalities keep runoff clean and manage overflows. In older cities in the Great Lakes Basin, like Detroit, this is a serious challenge.
The strength of the storms is definitely different. What that means is that there's more precipitation falling in a shorter amount of time.
In August of 2014, a storm dropped 5.5 inches of rainfall on Detroit, and the sewers discharged 10 billion gallons of overflows into local rivers and streams, as well as the basements of Detroiters.
My basement a couple of years ago had like 8 inches of standing water in it after one particular storm.
I just saw some pretty, I'm talking about critical situations where people done work hard, where they property just got damaged due to the floods.
Over the last 20 years, Detroit has invested over $1 billion to mitigate 95% of overflow. To account for the last 5%, the city turned to green infrastructure.
It's an urban waterfront compared with the River State Park. Each of them shown in phases.
Joan Nassauer, professor of landscape architecture at the University of Michigan, thought up a unique solution.
A bioretention garden is a form of green infrastructure. Each of the bioretention gardens can hold up to 300,000 gallons of water. Detroit had the very large number of vacant properties that I could hardly get my mind around. It was so clear to me that there was enormous potential for managing stormwater if these vacant properties in Detroit could be used in the right way. We said, what would happen if we filled those basement excavations as part of demolition with a highly porous material?
Researchers chose Northwest Detroit to host the bioretention gardens.
The minute I found out what its purpose was, I was all in. I mean, there is nothing more important than making sure that families are safe, because there's a lot of bacteria that got into everybody's basements. We were one of those people that had 3 foot of sewage in our basement.
There's health decisions to be made around stormwater management in terms of the spread of infectious disease, and so public health kind of gets left off sometimes. In 2015, we completed a first survey of around the sites, about 800 square feet.
They asked us how would we feel about a garden getting put across the street, and we told them it'd be a lovely idea because it was just naked. They gave the field life.
Since we put the garden in, we actually have children that play out there now riding their bikes. We have people walking by the garden now. People are getting back out into the community. They're not tied in their house anymore with their blinds pulled. They're actually opening their blinds and enjoying life again.
And we want neighborhoods in Detroit to be beautiful places to live. But there's another reason that's more of a tactic for sustainability as it relates to water quality. If you pair an ecological benefit, like being able to hold stormwater, with beauty on the surface, then the ecological benefit is more likely to be sustained over time.
In addition to the bioretention gardens, the city of Detroit is investing in a multitude of green infrastructure projects.
We know that climate change is already happening. Since 1951 to 2015, we've seen a 4.5% increase in total annual precipitation across the state of Michigan. When you're maybe economically insecure and your basement floods several times a year, that can be a really stressful situation. And so this green infrastructure might be one strategy to take the burden off of residents who are experiencing that.